What we are going to look at today is the IELTS reading test, which is the second test right after the listening test. It is good for 60 minutes and you can manage your time, which means you can skip those you don't or you can't easily find and get back to those questions once you answered the easier ones. Because unlike the listening test, you can always go back and still see the previous questions that you left unanswered. Yes, you did hear me right. Just like the writing test, this test is under your time management, which means you can always go back to the questions you didn't finish, and they're always there. And whatever extra time which you didn't use in the first section can be utilized or carried over to the next sections. Now, what we're going to look at in particular would be table completion, filling the gaps true, false, not given. Now, in the listening test and the reading test, you have to watch out for the keywords. They're very, very important. Okay. Now look out for the following: proper nouns, names of people, events, holidays, figures or numbers, dates, and synonyms or words having the same meaning with what was mentioned perhaps in your reading passage. Knowing also which type of question is in order or not in order is very important. So what we're talking about right now are the three types, which are table completion, we have the true false not given, and the fill in the gaps. These are usually in order. You might find the answers to some questions being interchanged, but still the location are near each other. And the relevance of knowing such is that you don't need to go back again and again and or need to skim through the passage again and again, as that would be taking so much time. Let's take a look at a sample reading test here to apply those things I discussed earlier. So keywords play once again a vital role. Take a look at what I'm trying to do here. 1977 is a clue given here under year. So I had to go to the passage and right away find that year. You don't need to understand everything. Just look for the keywords. It would lead you to the correct answer. See, it says here 1977. First, I had to find 1977. Of course, if there are so many years which pertain to 1977, then you have to understand first the other things. But here, it's very particular. It is only asking for the climate. Therefore, I had to take drought, copy, paste, and put it here. In the computer delivered test, yeah, once again, this is possible. Copy and paste it. So you don't need to type it all over. But of course, in the paper and pencil test, you have to copy everything and write it down carefully in order not to misspell the word. Now, as to the second question, the keyword I took was power to open something. So I found lacking the bill strength, which is power, to crack substitutes the word open. And whatever comes after, I took it as this. So large, sees, copy and paste it here. Okay, now number three, the question or the keyword under year is 1985. So I had to look for 1985, but this is a bit tricky because I kept looking for 1985 until I found while skimming this phrase, 8 years later. So if you add 8 to that of 1977, that would give you 1985. So what I'm trying to say is they don't always give you right away the keyword that you're looking for. So you have to understand how to arrive to that, or they just give you something like this. So you have to do a little bit of math. Add 8 to 1977, that will give you 1985. And the next keywords I had to look at was brought by El Nino. So I found it there. Now the word or words that come before it are heavy rains. So I had to copy and paste here in the given space or um, gap. Okay. Now let's take a look at number 4. It says big, big birds dying out with blank. So you have to find all those keywords first, like big, big birds dying out, and go back to the passage. And as I said, this kind of question type, filling the gap or filling in those, yeah, uh, blanks are in order. So I need not go up again. I just had to go down where I took heavy rains as my answer in number 3. And there it is. I found died out. Big bills died out. Okay. Now, with blank as a main food source, if you take a look at it, I had a big pause because I was trying to find out and figuring out where are the keywords or where the keywords are until, um, yeah, if you check, there is something, um, yeah, I had to find um, main food source. It is, I think, contained there in the word dominate. Yeah, dominate. So it says there, small seas came to dominate the food supply. So big, big birds dying out with small seeds as the main food resources. They just had to paraphrase it, but you should know. And there's a reason why I always say you have to look at the words before and after the blank. Now, go down. If you go down to questions 5 to 8, this is again fill in the gap. What we had a while back, by the way, is like completing the table. Okay, now this is it's like filling the gap, but in a table form. So we have here just completely an entire paragraph and fill in the gaps with the word or words missing. So my keyword is Santa Cruz because the order or there is such a thing we call degree of or the relevance of keywords in the IELTS reading test. Names of people, names of places, years, numbers, those words would be the like giveaway. Those would let you or help you arrive at the correct answer. So once I found Santa Cruz, I had to find also those two proper nouns, Andrew, Henry, and Jeffrey Bottas, which comes right after Santa Cruz here in the resource or the passage where it comes from. And I had to, yeah, um, highlight the word reversal. Yes, in the actual test, you can highlight, but there is only one color available that is, I believe, yellow. I don't know if they changed it, but when I took it, it was color yellow. So reversal, and um, it took me time also to figure out reversal, but I found the word twist. So reversal, and then just copy, and then I lifted Finch evolution, the phrase, and put it there as the answer. And next, you have to go to in the early years, 1960s, medium ground, blah, blah, blah. So the more important keywords would be in the next line, which is before um, the number 6 there. So late 1960s and early 70s would be your keyword. If you see, I was trying to highlight early 1960s because that's a bit tricky. If you don't focus on the word early, you might be taking something out there and trying to insist that the answer comes from the sentence, but definitely it isn't because early is totally different from late 1960s. So you have to be careful of those words. Simple words, but very relevant. So if you miss, then you might be taking quite a lot of time to find those as your keywords. Jokingly, I always tell the students this test is actually not a comprehension test. It is a test of good eyesight. If your eyesight is very good and you can easily find or spot those keywords, you can also find the answers right away. And definitely, it's a test also of grammar and vocab because even if you find the correct answer, if you don't know how to fit it in, you might be putting the wrong preposition, then that is still wrong. Okay, now finches with, yeah, sorry, I was coughing when I was doing this, because I tried to record first while answering, um, because I cannot do the voiceover at the same time. I had to focus on finding the answers first. So the study speak, where is that medium-sized bill flourished, and yeah, 70s, but in the late 1960s and early 70s, finches with. So I took the answer from the medium-sized bills flourished. Flourished, if you take a look at it, is substituted by the word thrive, right? So it's just synonymous to the word thrive. That's the reason why I always say this is a test of vocabulary and grammar. And then the study speculates it is due to the growing. And I found again the word booming. So right away, I picked and lifted human population and then um, just pasted it in that gap. Who brought in? Introduced was substituted by brought in. Alien plants was substituted by exotic plants. I was tempted to put new food sources, but then if you see there, the alien plants was already dropped as a keyword. So I was thinking the more sensible answer would be the one after exotic plants, and that's rice because we're talking about food source. So I took rice as the answer. Now in the true false not given, which is always the challenging part of the reading part, you have to be very, very careful here. But one thing, as I said, and I also already mentioned, this is also in order, just like the fill in the gap, this is also in order. But you have to understand um, and analyze, not really um, go word by word, but you just have to understand the meaning and try to find if they agree, disagree, or if it is never mentioned or saying something different from what was mentioned, definitely that is to be considered as not given. So Grant's discovery has questioned Darwin's theory. I had to find Grant. As I said, look for keywords. First, names of people or places. So I found Peter and Rosemary Grant in that first paragraph. So I had to highlight it in order not to lose it, and it would be easy for me to find it. And then has questioned. Then I had to highlight they have witnessed Darwin's principle in action again and again. It means they already testify. I mean, they right in their very eyes or in front of them, they saw Darwin's theory happening, which is like a confirmation of what Darwin probably had had in his theory. So has questioned is definitely an opposite of they have witnessed. Okay, if they witnessed, then it was true. So why would they question something which was already happening um, in front of them? So I had to put it as false. Then I went to number 10, find cactus finches as my keyword and less affected, as well as medium ground finch. So I found medium ground finch, but once you find a group of words which you highlighted as a keyword, do not stop. You have to find further, because if one element is missing, the other is not missing, then probably, I mean, that would be very dangerous, because in true false, I mean, in not given, one element may be present, but the other is missing. So still that is not given. So I found small ground finch and eating small soft seeds. So um, less affected by food than the medium ground finch. If you can see how they turned the sentence here, there is a comparison. Less is a comparison. So you have to find first, did the source say something about comparison, or did it compare the cactus finches with that of the ground finch? If it did not mention anything about that, most probably, then it would be and it should be not given. So that's the reason why I took time, or it took me a little more time to find or to answer this question, because I was trying to find if there are other sentences I mentioned about that. But still, as you can see, I was going like in order. Wherever I took number 9, which is false, disregard about those answers which we had a while back, but we already had the witnessed also that those are in order. So the cactus finches are less affected by food than the medium ground finch. So I put it finally after probably 2 minutes as not given. Um, as I always say and tell, um, those test takers or the test takers here, if there is no comparison made or the reading passage never even mentioned about um, comparisons, then you should take it as a not given. Now, if you go to number 11, it says in 2002 and 2003. You have to be careful with words like few, some, and not all or all. And there's a reason why I had to highlight the word all, because it might be few, which is opposite, or um, nearly all, which is definitely not exactly the same as all. So I had to find first if it says all, and then I found none of the birds nested that year. It's a little bit tricky because it made use of negative word too. So if you try to understand none of the birds nested that year, it means their their uh, the the reproduction system is negatively affected. Therefore, it has to be understood as a true. At first, if you saw what I did, it was to put false, and then I realized none of the birds nested that year. Then it means that they were all affected. Now, the discovery of Andrew, Henry, and Jeffrey Potts was the same as that in that of the previous studies. And then while going through, I found something which says it was the very first time. Yeah, there. I I highlighted in blue, marked the first time that biologists have been able to follow the complete processes of an evolutionary change due to competition between species and the strongest response to natural selection that has seen in 33 years of tracking finches. So this is a response to human intervention. You can actually, how would you know that such is the response? If you see, I was still skimming down because I was trying to find out. Probably it was mentioned somewhere else, or I had. If you see me skimming down, although I highlighted something there, I was trying to make sure if that indeed was the probable, I mean the source, because if you don't get your source right, then you're referring to another part of the reading passage as a source, while in fact it isn't. Definitely it would give you the wrong answer. And um, yeah, it's taking time to, oh yeah, it says there, booming human population had introduced new food sources. And it says bill size, once critical to the finch's survival, no longer made any difference. So right after talking about booming human population, they introduce something which was new and it never happened before. So you can already correlate it to the booming human population as the reason behind it. And here it is safe because it says likely. It does not say definitely, but likely. So there is a strong like possibility. So I had to put it as true. Now, I submitted just after the first reading passage because each there in the academic test there are um, 3 passages. Yeah, there are 3 passages, and each passage has like 13 to 14 questions. See, 1 to 13 was what we answered or what I answered, and the others I skipped. I just submitted just to show you the answers to the first section, which is numbers 1 to 13, and everything is correct here. Okay, these ones with the X, from numbers 14 all the way down to 40, because there are always 40 questions in the reading part, these are left unanswered because if I had to answer everything, it would take so much time. And what I just wanted to show is a part of reading, which is the completion of a table and that of the true false not given. And one other thing is that of the fill in the gap. Okay. See, 1 to 13 was the thing that was answered, and everything was correctly taken. So by now, I hope you can understand what I'm trying to say, that keywords play a vital role. Of course, how fast you can find those keywords, how fast you understand what to fill in, go to take or lift as the answer, especially in filling the gaps, would also be very important, because if your focus is not there, even I myself, when I try to do it with other students and I try to answer without looking at the answer keys, there are times when my mind is not fully there, then that would definitely affect your performance. Just one thing that bothers you, or if your focus or concentration is not on what you're doing during the test, that would definitely be um, a negative thing.